Okay, I shall just rush through the guidelines. Now, where exactly is our office located? It is in the old administrative block behind the Dhanalakshmi Bank. So, I am sure those of you studied here will be knowing where this old administrative block is. For the rest of you, it is the one near to the forensic medicine department. So, you have a bank there too, Dhanalakshmi Bank, and just behind that we have the IRC office. Okay. Now, these are the committee members. Our chairperson is Dr. Ashokan sir and myself, the nodal officer. We have several executive board members and other IRC members too. So, you might just notice that we have members from almost every department in college. So, you can approach the member in your department for any additional assistance that you would require. Now, we all know that thesis writing is very important because we need to just get through this MD, MS degree. So, we definitely have to do a thesis and submit it. Not just that, it also has to be accepted by the university. So, as far as possible, when you select a study for your thesis, please remember that you only have around 1 to 1.5 years to do the entire study, because it will take around like 8 to 9 months for your study to get reviewed by KUHAS and then get it accepted, and finally you being intimated. So it will take time for you to start your study. By the time you are like into second year, halfway through second year, and then you have to finish the data collection, entry, analysis, everything, and submit it 6 months prior to writing the exam. So try to choose studies which fit into 1 to 1.5 years for the total duration. No drug trials, no expenditure from part of patient. You have to keep this in mind. If you are interested to do trials, you can probably do it after you finish your MD/MS, but at present, take up simple studies. And assess the progress regularly. I think this should be done by yourself and also by your guide, so that you don't lag and cause any delay in submission. As far as possible, submit in time, whether it is your study or your protocol. Now, the process of submission would include, first of course, you need to finalize your topic and then your research question, etc. That you can do with discussions with your guide, HOD and other faculty members in your department. And then finally, once you fix your research question, you develop the protocol, write it in detail and draw all the headings that have been discussed today. Present the protocol in the department, get the concurrence of all the faculty members, get their suggestions, etc. And once that's ready, this readied format you can submit to the IRC to get the IRC clearance, or the Institutional Research Committee clearance. So what we do here at IRC is we would circulate your project to 2 reviewers who would give in their comments and suggestions. So you need to make up those necessary changes and get the final copy ready. The final version of it is going to be submitted to the ethical committee. Then the ethical committee will undergo the process of clearance. I think sir has already mentioned that in detail today. So once you get the ethical committee clearance too, then the next step is to upload this to the KUHAS website. So in the synopsis format and in the entire format, you have to submit it to KUHAS. Once KUHAS gets it, it is also going to give it to 2 reviewers, content reviewers, and I think your methodology reviewers. Two reviewers are going to look at it, and once they also put forth their suggestions and corrections, etc., and after the final copies have been submitted, you finally get clearance from KUHAS. So it's a like 3-pronged step to get clearance for your project. And once you get the clearance from KUHAS, then you can confidently start your study, start the data collection, etc. Protocol submission to IRC. Well, synopsis within 3 months of admission is what we would want. This time your admission was a bit late, but still KUHAS has fixed its deadline as I think November. So we need 3 months of review, 3 months to review, and then for you to get your ethical clearance. So we would suggest that you submit your protocol within 30th of September. Okay. You still have time. This is 1.5 months, 1.5 months, 1 month. So you can probably start thinking now and finalize one by the end of September. You have to submit it in the specified format. I will be showing you the format at the end of this presentation. We usually ask for 3 hard copies and 1 soft copy. Every thesis is evaluated by 2 members. I already mentioned that. And once reviewed, you will get your feedback within 2 weeks. Following corrections, you're supposed to resubmit within a week. So this is general format for submission. That is, you would have a covering page telling your title and your name and designation. Then you need to have a few covering letters. One is to the nodal officer requesting him to, actually approve your study and do the needful. Then you also require a letter from the HOD telling that you are a PG student and then you're doing this thesis and so on. And this presentation I can share with you so you can get a format of all these letters. The letter to the principal again stating that you are a student here and then you're doing this topic as your thesis. Then a short biodata of yourself and your guide is also to be attached. Then declarations saying that you will do it only after getting the approval, and then your guide has the qualification to guide you, etc. So one or two declarations also to be submitted. So these are the covering pages. We would require just one copy of the covering pages. Then the contents of your protocol is as how Dr. Sudhiraj had discussed today. So you need to talk about the introduction, the review of literature, the objectives, materials and methods, expected outcome, and the references. Now, along with this, you also need to keep all the annexures that you would have, like the consent form, the patient information sheet, then your questionnaire or pro forma, all those things also to be attached. Regarding the headings and materials and methods which you have to include, I think this also Dr. Sudhiraj very clearly mentioned. So these aspects should be there in the materials and methods part of your protocol. Okay, design of study, period of study, sample size, place of study, method or the procedure as such, how you're selecting your cases, what is your inclusion and exclusion criteria, what is the outcome you're looking at, and it's not summary, you would want data entry and analysis plan also. References, so Dr. Adra also already mentioned that Vancouver style is what is preferred. So for protocol, we don't want like 50, 100 references. We just want 10 references to a maximum of 10 references. You can stick on to anywhere between 7 and 10. They should be the references that you actually went through to prepare your protocol. Now these are the annexures that I said you have to attach to your protocol. That is your pro forma, then any scales of measurement or tools for measurement you're using, then the consent form both in English and local language, participant information sheet also in English and local language, then any collaborators who are collaborating with you, any financial support you're getting from somewhere, the details of that. But the last two things generally is for the general projects or faculty projects. For the PG thesis, we generally expect the PG to self-fund the thesis, and generally we don't collaborate with anybody or any other institution because it is our academic work, so we do it on our own. Okay. This is how a proforma should look like, a proforma or the questionnaire. All the basic variables that you would want to collect your data on will have to be listed in detail in the proforma. Only those variables which you are planning to analyze, you please include in the proforma. Don't write every single thing in the proforma, because then you, in the end, you will have time only filling the proforma. So only what is essential, what you plan to analyze, and then of course the name, age, sex, because you want to identify the proforma. Just for that purpose, the name is important, and the address probably. You're not going to analyze those things. The other stuff, depending on whether you're going to analyze it or not, only then you collect it. Now this is how a consent form looks like. It should be both in English and the local language. All those things I think sir has already very clearly mentioned. So the format of a participant information sheet which tells you about why you're doing this study and then why the patient is to participate, what is the benefit to the patient, risk to patient, all that. Then once all these annexures are ready and your protocol is ready, you attach all this and send it to IRC. Once IRC has reviewed and cleared it, then the next is submission to ethical committee. So once approved by IRC, it goes to the college office. So you have to make a payment there in the cash counter for the IEC review, and then after that 5 hard copies along with his registration fee received, and 1 e-copy has to be given to Ajit sir, who is our ethical committee secretary. Okay, and the ethical committee will inform you the date of discussion regarding the ethical clearance, when they're going to take up your project for clearance. So that day you have to come and actually make a small short presentation about your project in very simple terms or simple language. After your ethical clearance has been obtained, Then you do the uploading to KUHAS. All this should finish within 6 months of your admission. So you can just calculate the cutoff for you. Usually it is November. Then with fine, probably till December. Submit the topic in synopsis within 6 months. So this is what is mentioned in the KUHAS guidelines. In synopsis for dissertation, okay, within 6 months you have to submit it, and then the synopsis should be signed by the student, approved by the guide, countersigned by HOD and principal before sending to the university. And you also have to upload the ethics committee clearance, so that also has to be obtained before you upload the synopsis. So you have to be really fast in doing this. Now once it reaches KUHAS and they take it up for review, I told you there are 2 reviewers who are going to be doing it, the methodology reviewer and the content reviewer. They will come out with probably one of these 4 decisions. Either they agree to accept your protocol, or they tend to just reject it outright. Then in between, they can either ask you to resubmit with some minor modifications or resubmit with some major modifications. Okay. Non-accepted synopsis shall be sent back to colleges for modification, giving them a maximum of 30 days. So within 1 month, you're supposed to make all the corrections that have been asked and resubmit it. Then prior to writing your exams, that is 6 months prior to writing your exams, you will have to submit the full completed thesis. Okay. Then meanwhile, in between, if you want to change your guide, change of title, etc., it's actually a very huge procedure. You will have to get a letter from your head of the department, forward it, and then take it to the principal. Then principal will have to give it to you, give it to the university, agreeing to the reasons to why they require a change. So it's not very easy if you want to just change the title or guide. So each time so when you decide to submit your protocol, for heaven's sake, you fix your title properly, see that it is perfect, and only then forward it. Okay, because changes are rather difficult. So these are the cutoff dates. As I said, there's no change in it as of now, even though you've joined late. It's till November 30th without fine, and another 15 days extra you get, but that is with a fine of rupees 5,000. So do this. This is even for not just your protocol, this is basically for your full completed thesis. Okay, so even when you write your exams 3 years from now, in the November prior to writing your exams, you will have your exams in May, June, I think, 2023. So yeah, so by 22 end, that is November, you will have to do all this submissions. Okay. So change of guide, generally we don't change guides. Once we have one, we stick to that. But sometimes some reasons, like your guide is resigned, or your guide is gone on a long leave or got transferred, etc. In such a case, you will have to change and inform the university and suggest a change. But if you have if your guide is transferred, but you have a co-guide still in the institution, and if the guide is okay with guiding from far, you can continue. Then if the data collection is already completed by the time the guide is transferred or retired or whatever, still the guide can continue to guide you. Okay. Otherwise, if it's in the initial stage of your thesis work that the guide is getting transferred or resigns, then probably you will have to change, look for a change. Okay, this is what I said earlier, modification of title not very easy, you have to forward it to the principal. Changes in methodology, well, if some changes have been instituted in your methodology, then again you have to resubmit the protocol to the ethical committee and get the clearance. Now when ethical committee has to get the clearance, first the research committee or the institutional research committee will have to give you the clearance first. So the whole process will have to be repeated if you are bringing about changes in your methodology. Then as far as possible, when we mentioned about research question, I did tell you that don't reinvent the wheel. Same thing here. University has track of all the research work which has been done previously under the same university. So look at the work done over the past 5 years and see that you don't do exactly the same work. Protocol that resembles very closely any previously done study liable to be rejected. So see that you do something different. So always go through the university database, look out on the website of the university and see which all are the other studies which have been done by your predecessors, and try to avoid exact repetitions. Then of course, once you do your thesis, well, don't just keep it in your shelf. It would be good if you can actually publish it, because the main intention for us to do research is to disseminate the information to the scientific community. Let them know what you have found out, what are the findings of your study. So always make it a point to undertake the publication part. Now you can send a part of your thesis for publication even before you write your exam itself, and that can be the proof of submission, acceptance by the journal, or if you've published, proof of publication. All that can be kept in the last few pages as annexures with your final thesis. Whatever work you do under KUHAS, you will have to acknowledge KUHAS when you do the publication also. Now this is the criteria. I think this criteria was already shown to you by Dr. Sudhiraj when he mentioned about the protocol. This is the format which we use in the research committee for reviewing the protocols that you submit. It's the same one which is being used by the university also. So you see all these headings are very clearly stated in your protocol. If any of them turns out to be a no when we review it, you will have to rework on it. So after you complete your thesis work, as I said, publish it, and at the same time also you can present in different conferences or seminars so that people know that you have done. And then don't stop at doing just one research work in your entire life, that is your thesis. Do continue and take up several other research projects also in future. So why we make PGs do thesis is not that we want you to like find out some new stuff and create groundbreaking research or so, but it's just that we want you to learn the methodology, understand how to go about doing research and the research process. It's just for that, just a learning experience for you. Now I will just show you the format which we would like to have here. How do we get out here? So there is a Word document. Again, I can share it in the PG group. Now this is the format for submission. This is just the first page would definitely be all the same headings that Dr. Sudhiraj has mentioned to you: the introduction, review, literature, objectives, materials, methods, the expected outcome, then all the proformas and other annexures that you have to attach, etc. So all that format is the same. Okay. Then the second part, that is this colored document, is the one which the ethical committee would want for their review. So you add on both and submit. Okay. So this is just a summary of your initial document only. It's the same. Am I not audible? Is that a problem? I am getting some messages. Is it over, etc., etc. Is there some problem? Is it not audible? Any issue? Hello? Oh gosh. Return to home screen. Rejoin. അതെന്താ ഇപ്പം അങ്ങനെ പറ്റിയേ? അതായിരിക്കും വാട്ട് ഹാപ്പൻഡ് എന്നും പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് ചോദിച്ചേ. What was the problem? എവിടം വരെ ആയതോ എന്തോ, എപ്പോഴാ പോയേ? Okay, hello? Hello? I'm sorry, I got somehow logged out. I hope most of you are still on. Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, continue.
Okay. Okay, I don't know where exactly I got cut off. Where was I before I just got exited? I'll just go through the protocol again, the format. Okay, this is the initial format that lesson now. Okay, I think I have to go through the whole exercise again. Word. Okay. Okay, now is it visible? Okay, fine.
Yeah, it's visible.
It's visible. Okay, thank you, ma'am. Okay, so this is the format for submission. Please stick on to this format when you submit. The first few headings, well, you're all familiar. We've been talking it right from the beginning of today's sessions. And then the second part is something that's new to you, that is the format which we use for the ethical committee review. So along with the initial document, the protocol, you're also going to submit an abridged version of that for the ethical committee. This has to be written together as a single document and submitted. Okay. And this is just a synopsis part. You just have to put some ticks here and there, just write a small summary and just fill in the columns. This form is quite simple to fill. So I will be sharing this in the group, so you can download it and use it for your work. Okay. So this document also will have to be filled. There are some places where you have to sign, your guide has to sign, HOD has to sign, etc. To see that all that is done. And then there's a checklist which tells you all the items that you have to attach, along with the document. So see that you keep those documents also along with this. So three sets of this copy will have to come to the research committee. Then after all the corrections, 5 corrected copies of this whole thing will have to be kept for the ethical committee. Both committees would require soft copies also. So you can scan it as a PDF document and send it to the email IDs which will be provided to you at that time. Okay. So I think this is all with the formats. I hope it's clear. These documents will be shared to you, so there's no problem.